I never didn't believe in Bigfoot. I never believed in it, I didn't believe in it. I never gave it any thought.
They kept wood knocking back and forth to each other, and it was in a pattern.
Barn owls don't typically throw rocks.
I come across these tracks.
Sasquatch is still not on my mind.
I read that comment right as we were coming back. William is the mayor of Caffeinated Cryptidville.
Or Wendell.
I was reading. Oh gosh, can't be prepared. Okay, thanks everybody for joining in. We got a crowd already. I'm going to pay Roger money for this. He's the best PR guy I got. We are visiting the Ozarks today, home of D.A. Roberts and Jeremy Rogers, and we got our pseudo co-host Squatch and Holler Roger Williams in the house, and he brought his crew. What's going on, Jeremy? We've been waiting on this for a long time.
Yeah, we have been waiting a while.
I get ahead of myself.
We've been doing some expeditions out into the northwest Arkansas area here lately. We just had our winter expedition. We do little meet and greets with the group every quarter, and we just went into the Mark Twain National Forest next to Roaring River, Missouri, in Cassville. And we saw some tree. We didn't get a lot of evidence, but we saw a few tree breaks, and it's definite prime habitat for them. It's just the landscape was really hard this last time to get through.
Mm-hmm.
It was all creek bed, and
when you go out there, those expeditions, what's the most common thing you look for? That's what I've always asking the guys who do these kind of research things.
Right. Yeah, we look for tree breaks. We look for tree structures, any disturbances in the ground that might be a footprint. It's in the Ozarks. It's a little different looking for footprints because there's so much leaf litter on the ground. So instead of looking for a print, you've got to look where the leaf litter was disturbed. And at night, we go out and look for with the thermal and look for heat signatures and whatnot. But mainly we look for tree structures, tree breaks, disturbances, rocks on the ground that haven't been there before, anything that just might lead to be some sort of evidence of a Sasquatch.
Okay. You mentioned that about the leaf litter. I've often thought that, Roger saw a possible print down the road and land between the lakes, but you see people like one of the tropes is that the prints happen and they disappear, like they double back where they go. And I'm thinking, well, a lot of the stuff doesn't leave a footprint, like limestone rock and leaves. So I'm like, that could be part of it, even though I know that even on snow it happens as well. But
right,
it's one of the things that pops in my head. It's like a red flag every time I see somebody say that.
Well, it's like here in southern middle Tennessee. It's kind of where like Jeremy is. Unless you're around a pond or something where water, most of ours is the same way. The hardwoods, the leaves, you look for the disturbance. When you're tracking deer also, or any kind of animal. But I'm sorry to interrupt, Jeremy. I told you my brother-in-law, they live up there. I think it's I forgot the name. It starts with a B. But anyway, is there something called Monkey Mountain over there, like east of Kansas City?
I believe so. I've heard this, but I've never been there.
Okay, because that was I saw that on a YouTube documentary, and I was wondering if you'd been there. So okay, sorry.
Monkey Mountain sounds like what they It's like what they call that place over in North Alabama that was on that show, the
It's
Monster
creep.
Mountain.
Hey, you want some inside information on that? Creepy Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
So Mark Green and those guys, that's where they hunted at Bigfoot and all. And they had the FLIR and all this. Well, when Finding Bigfoot came to town, they were like, "What's it called?" Well, you don't have a name, you know. They said, "Well, this come from Mark." He said, "Well, we need something for the show. We need something creepy that everybody will like." And that's a
Creepy
mountain. And they're like, "Good, that's it."
They really got the focus group out for that one.
Yeah.
It's like those rap songs that all say the same word over and over.
Yeah.
My dad will always go, but it took a long time to write that one.
Yeah. Made millions.
Yeah. I'm actually looking into getting some FLIR and stuff as well. My Amazon cart is just tabs across the board. I should never have gone beyond stories, because I started the show wanting to hear stories, and then I get one taste of it, and I'm like, fuck yeah. I am Bobo. Bobo Dizzle over here. I can see how it does. How what's your best sighting ever, Jeremy? Let's get the best experience you've ever had.
The best experience, I've had 2 sightings. One was a Class A, one was a Class B. And my Class A sighting, I was heading to Walmart with my family in Holiday Island, Arkansas. And we loaded up in the Suburban, and we were headed to Walmart, and we had to go through Missouri. We lived in Arkansas, but we had to go through Berry County, Missouri to get there. And as I'm driving down State Line Road, and I turn onto what they call County Line Road, which is the actual state line between Missouri and Arkansas. And there's a little circle drive. It doesn't lead to anything. It's just it leads to a trash pile. There's no house or anything with a circle drive, and it's overgrown with trees and whatnot. But you can still see the circle drive. And as I turned onto the road, I looked over there, and I could see one that was more of a golden blonde color, but it was squatted down with its arms inside its knees, and it looked. I mean, I saw this thing quickly, but it looked like it was going through the trash pile. And as quickly as and safely as I could, I slammed on the brakes without, throwing the family into the car. But I backed up, and it was gone. And that was in 2016, and that's what sparked my research into it. And then again at Roaring River, it was just this past summer. I was outside my tent. It was probably about 3 or 4 in the morning. I was taking care of business. And I look off, and I see this reddish eye glow, and it looked to be, at the time, about maybe 2-3 foot off the ground from where I'm looking. And I thought, okay, it's probably a dog or a cat or whatever. And I could hear a low growl, and it was one of those growls that you could feel, not necessarily hear. Mm-hmm. And it kind of caught my attention, but being so low to the ground, I didn't think anything about it, and I crawled back in. And then the next morning, I looked to where that was, and there was about a 5.5 foot drop off to where that thing was standing. So it was more about 7.5 to 8 foot where the eyes were. And that's my Class B sighting. If it's a sighting, it could have been whatever, but with the reddish glow and as high as it was standing.
Were the lights hitting it, or was it just like pure eye shine?
There are lights in the campground at Roaring River that kind of fly back. So it wasn't self-projecting lights like they have been reported.
Okay. I'll ask the group and Roger in the chat as well. Let me clear up eye shine. Is eye shine, is it something like you see independently, like it's making its own shine? Is that what the lore is with it? Or is it always like a deer in a spotlight?
Well, it can be both with a Bigfoot.
Okay.
They've reported to actually produce their own eye shine without a light.
Mm-hmm.
But then I
wondered if that was the thing. I never could get, like, I'd hear, you don't want to ask the stupid question and be the dumb kid in class. And I always hear people talk about eye shine. I'm thinking, and I thought I heard comments of people saying, independent will glow. It'll glow itself. Like that's the thing. Like it's 2 eyes in the woods that don't have anything attached to it.
Right.
And some people are like, yeah, I hit it with a flashlight and eye shine. Well, that could have been anything. That could have been like Wendell was saying, a big ass possum.
Right.
Just upside down in a tree. But so, yeah, I guess what you're saying is they can't just be independently by themselves glowing.
Well,
right.
Also, for a lot of us that did coon hunt at night back when we were younger, and people that were outside at night and just doing whatever, we spent a lot of time outside. We didn't have anything to do, so we were either frog gigging, camping on the creeks or whatever. And you will see frogs and coyotes and cows, and you recognize those eyes by the color or the way, or like Peyton will tell you where they are at on the head, right?
Right.
If they're facing forward, if they're on the sides or whatever.
Yeah.
Like a horse.
Cows on the side.
Yeah. So when you see something out of the ordinary, it makes you do a double take, and the width is the big thing. My son saw, and some friends immediately when they saw these eyes, when the light came across, it was just out of reach of the light. But he said the width of the eyes were impossibly far apart, and when it's a living creature, it's blinking,
Right.
And so you take that light away, and you don't have the eye shine. But if the light's not touching that and it's doing the same thing, then it's emanating light. And I've seen one instance of that freaked me out, and it was like one eyeball out from behind a tree, 11 foot up with no limbs.
Wow.
And so now this is before I got into this. I saw one when I was 14. I'm starting to get into this in the last year and learning from guys like you. And you get to thinking back of some of these things that you encountered or whatever. But anyway,
right.
Yeah. So that was just my take on the eye shine. It comes with experience, from being out at night.
Hey, Jeremy, Spencer was wanting to know how far away you were when you heard that growl.
I was probably 50 to 100 meters away. I wasn't very far.
Oh yeah, so that's like hearing it right up on you in that kind of environment. That's like the difference whenever you're deer hunting, you hear somebody shoot from down the holler. Yeah, and you hear somebody shoot the next property over. You're like, man, I heard that firing pin. There's something when I've been sitting out there before and hear a pack of baby coyotes crank up. Just kind of adolescent, and you're like, man, you feel it, and you hear them from a mile away, and it's not the same. So yeah, I bet that was something.
Oh man, it was, and I come back and told my girlfriend, and she just kind of like, well, maybe it was a dog, And then the next morning is when I went out and did a size comparison. I was like, that was no dog.
Nope.
And the only thing I could think of is it could have been an owl. It could have been an owl on a branch, but I tend to think it might have been a squatch.
Yeah, I mean, when you go on a lot of these expeditions, do you get a lot of Class C's, like like your wood knocks and your whoops, like maybe some mimics?
Yeah, my first the first meet and greet expedition we did with our group was in October, and I took them into what's called the Starlight Trail. It's just a little trail area into Holiday Island, Arkansas, and we walked in, and immediately we saw tree breaks, we saw tree structures, we saw one of our investigators found footprints, and we cast a print out of there. But at night we did get whoops, and we got a tree knock. Now we fired off several tree knocks. We got one back, and since then I've lessened my knock, so I'll just do one, maybe two in the woods, and then I'll be done because I don't want to run them off. You know what I mean? We don't know what we're saying with tree knocks. We don't really know what they mean.
I've heard that a lot. Like, you don't know what you're calling it. It could be a mating call saying, "Come here, baby." Wow.
Hey, that's another thing we need to try to get documented is mating season, because we don't want to say the wrong thing at the wrong time, right?
It's one thing to put Tink 69 on a cotton ball.
Yeah.
It's another thing to get a 9,000 gorilla. Like, why's that Bigfoot got 3 tracks? Oh shit!
Well, look at you.
Did you see where Greg was looking for the decaffeinated cryptid? I'm dying. Yeah. And I'm about to stop the show.
Hey, Bob. Then you see where those 3 tracks run up to where a guy had boots on, and then those boots are missing, right?
So it's a free pair of crosses right there.
Jeremy, have you ever Have you ever heard anything that might have made you think that you may have been dealing with a juvenile, like different sounds? Because let's tell you what I heard one time. There was this year. You had the whoops, the whoop whoop, the normal that everybody does or whatever. But I heard we were out one night at our hot spot on the north end here, and I heard a whoop whoop, a higher pitched whoop whoop, but not whoop, and it had a two
Right.
grunt response immediately, like a mom, like shut up, whatever. But I was talking to a guy that's been doing this forever, and he said those higher pitched ones, and then he compared it to like a rooster when he's learning how to crow, and he sounds awful or whatever.
Right.
Have you ever heard anything that you didn't? I mean, that kind of sounded like a Bigfoot or a booger or whatever, but it was kind of confusing.
Well, I've heard what sounded like a woman screaming in the woods, but it was high pitch, and that could be a bobcat, it could be a mountain lion, or it could be a juvenile or a squatch. So I couldn't tell you for sure, but yeah, I mean that's just one example of things I've heard that could be a juvenile with the high pitched squeal. But it was daylight, so I just wrote it off as a cat, but I mean that's one instance.
Okay, I appreciate you answering, because the more I learn about this stuff, and like I said before the show we come on, I'm the first one to go out there, and I'm the first one to run out of the woods. With some of these sounds and stuff that's happening.
Right.
That's fun.
Yeah, and there's reports of them mimicking several different sounds too, like owls and coyotes and.
Greg had a nice anecdote on that one. He said one way you trick bookers a few times, if you're having an owl that might not be an owl, hawk whistle at it, and if the owl hawk whistles back, 100% not an owl. And Leroy Nail says, owls don't typically throw rocks.
Right. Yeah, we had that rock tossed at us that time. The first thought that went through my head was, whatever that was, got to have a thumb. I don't know what that was, but it's got to have a thumb. Mm-hmm. So we were out of there, right?
Got to have a thumb,
right?
That's the I guess that's the rule of thumb. Bigfoot rock throwing.
That's the Sasquatch rule of thumb. Jeremy, I'm sorry. His sense of humor gets so dry, and
it's very dry.
I tell people on our show, on my show, it's really laid back, and we take the subject seriously, but we have fun doing it, so.
How big was the rock?
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody?
No, he knows how big my rock was. I think he's asking Jeremy.
Yeah, I was like, how big was?
Oh, I thought he was asking you.
I was confused as well. I was like, what rock are we talking about?
The rocks that I've seen thrown, or I've had thrown, weren't huge, but they were about half of a basketball size, maybe double three softballs.
Ooh.
I mean, those probably a 15, 20-pound rock.
Almost a boulder.
Wow.
Yeah.
They got to really thread the needle with one of those.
Well, I've heard that. We had audio of some screaming at us and breaking trees, and what was one of the scariest things was it was picking up, like Jeremy just said, it was bigger stones and tossing it, and you could hear them hit and roll a little bit. So I've actually heard that.
Yeah, I've heard them in the water too. No, you're fine.
Yeah, that rock thing. If I don't know, like that scares me more than any other report that I've heard about anything that Sasquatch does, bar none. Because that right there might as well be proof that something's out there that's not a squirrel or a deer or even a bear, because nothing throws rocks but people and other people things.
Yeah, and the size of
the moment you hear woo, 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 and then a rock comes, holy shit, I'm out.
Yeah,
that's not supposed to happen. This isn't like I said, this isn't Hogwarts. Those owls aren't that smart.
Well, Jeremy, I have a question. So, in your area of the country, what is the most active time of year for y'all?
It varies between fall and spring. I find fall more active. Personally, I've just had more encounters, and I'm not talking sightings, but more more activity, more howls, more
Stuff.
knocks, more. I've seen more tree structures. It just
That's
seems
close.
to be the fall.
Yeah. Well, I noticed here it's kind of the same way, and I think y'all get the heat like and humidity probably like we do. And
Oh
I
yeah,
I, I was telling some folks, if we don't want to be out there, they probably either are moving to a different area or staying in a hollow somewhere that's cooler or whatever. So it does
right.
like when the leaves get off the trees here. In a couple of the spots we have, that seems to be the more you have more success with something. Not saying I've only seen one, which that's a lot, but the we're learning. So I have noticed I'm paying attention to like a hunter, paying attention to what happens at certain times of year. And I was joking a little bit about the mating season, but
Hmm.
that's good information to have.
It
You
is.
know?
I mean,
Yeah.
that would be like a big notch on the belt to know when that is or how it works. Or they're like humans, just
Right.
always in the mating season,
Right.
just locked, cocked, and ready to rock.
Like a
Mhm.
chimpanzee.
Hmm. Or a dolphin. Dolphins do that too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, and at this point, like Spencer say and some other people, a lot of this stuff is speculation, but I know people are more detailed with their research, and I'm not one. So I've made several mistakes this year, and it's a learning process with anything, much less this. So I appreciate you talking about your research too. So I'm gonna sit back and let y'all. I want to learn. So
Oh, you can
Okay.
join in whenever you want to. I was
Yeah.
about to
Please
ask,
do.
where do we think they go during the summer? Like, if they migrate, there's obviously not like game trails that people track. You think they'd pull like a Godzilla verse thing and go underground through the caves?
they go to Greg's
You know,
house down in Alabama.
the cave thing is actually a plausible hypothesis, being that it's what a cave stay about 53 degrees year round. I think it is.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be
in
a
that
good
neighborhood.
idea. But I
I would
haven't.
just like
I'm sorry.
go ahead. I'm sorry. I was mouthing off. No,
No,
Missouri's got
I
a lot
just
of caves, especially in the Ozark area.
it's huge amount of caves here. Yeah, I don't know the numbers, but I know it's number one. I read that here just recently about the amount of
Mhm.
caves in the Ozarks.
I've been watching a lot of that. It's science fiction, but the Godzilla verse, the Monarch show, and it's
Hmm.
all about how they travel around the world in an instant. And they show
Wow.
Bigfoot. They show Bigfoot and Yeti and Loch Ness monster, and that's how they disappear through the tunnels.
Really?
I'm thinking, what if there's some kind of real? I mean, it doesn't have to be teleportation, but like a real hollow, like an actual civilization. They pop up like Maggie in the
Right.
Simpsons movie outside the dome. Like, where'd you come from? And they just disappear. And it
Yeah.
doesn't even
Well,
necessarily
with
have
the
to be
woo,
woo woo to come up with that.
yeah. So I was getting ready to say, with the woo, they do teleport, or they're believed
Yeah.
to. I don't know.
I was going to ask you how you felt about the woo. I'm on board. I'm okay
Uh,
with
you
it.
know, I'm open minded about it. I don't shun the woo like a lot of people do. I'm not a solid aper. I'm not
Mhm.
a solid
Really
woo.
hard to be.
Yeah, I keep my open mind because we don't know, and I feel
Really
like
hard to
staying
be
stagnant.
100% flesh and blood.
Yeah, yeah. I just feel like staying stagnant is not productive.
Mm. I think it
Yeah, I
slows
mean,
down any research.
well,
Right.
let me ask you this. So, all right. So when I started doing this part of it, I was probably 100% flesh and blood, but I've had some paranormal stuff happen in my life. I've seen a
Mhm.
Mhm.
UFO or two, legit stuff, not like a light in the sky, but just it's a long story. But anyway, um, when we started going out and just getting our feet wet, being out at night. Now I hadn't done that in years. And when I was younger, I didn't pay attention to everything because we'd have things happen. We wasn't scared of nothing, back then. Well, we started seeing some orbs, actual orbs, and in this certain place. And I'm wondering if I have this one lady that she's all into the woo, but the word she keeps bringing up is energy.
Mhm.
And with energy, I'm not saying they walk through a portal or anything like that, but I do know that with witnesses, like they've noticed it first, like, hey, what is that in that tree? And be 20 yards away, 10 foot up, and lasts for 20 minutes, right? To the point where I go home and I start studying bioluminescence in different mushrooms or whatever, but because of what we saw.
In the cow pasture studying them mushrooms. I know what you're doing.
Yeah. No, I'd be scared. I'd be the
Go home studying mushrooms.
Yeah.
East Tennessee mushrooms.
Yeah, I'd die of overdose, and then they'd be like, "Yeah, he had a Bigfoot show too, dumbass." But anyway, yeah, it's yeah. I'm sorry. I love talking about this stuff and asking,
Oh yeah.
But have you seen any weirdness yourself because being out at night or?
I haven't. I would love to say I have, but I've never witnessed anything within the woo paradigm. But then again, I haven't seen a lot on thermal at night either. So.
But it's
no, I mean I really haven't.
And it could be the area. It could be the difference in, like you said, you may have cave systems where they don't need. I'm sounding crazy now, but where they can get around. I have no idea what this stuff is. So that's where my questions come from. But
I've noticed a pattern out of people who have like experiences similar to Jeremy's, with the campground kind of sightings, campground adjacent. I've only seen them around the campfire, and I've seen their eyes and seen them on thermal, and I've never seen anything woo. I'm like, well, dude, how do you think a pack of gorillas got to your campsite without you knowing it?
Yeah.
I'm like, just because you didn't see the bus doesn't say that's not how they got here. Like, you can't just rule it out because you saw them around your campfire and they were. I hate to say gorilla because I really don't think they look like that. I don't think they look like the guy in my background. I think they got more of a people face, especially since what Mike Bluer said. But I mean, how do you think they got there? They didn't walk up. You didn't hear a bulldozer coming through the woods. They appeared out of nowhere,
right?
Like Avatar. It's a lot to put together. I think once you start accepting it, like Greg said, he was anti-woo until he witnessed woo himself. Even the guys I talk to who are, scientific with the radios and the check-ins and everything, they still say, we don't believe in the woo, but things happen and that's what happens.
Yeah.
Woo or not, it's what happens. Like, freaky shit goes on. Roger's a prime example of that.
Y'all, yeah, we won't get into that. But
feel free.
Yeah. It's just I've had things happen all my life, and so here's the thing. Here's where I'm at. That happened when I was 14. Got back into this in a weird way another 35 years later because of something that happened. So my question to myself is, am I open-minded because I saw a Bigfoot, or did I see a Bigfoot because I'm open-minded? It was almost like it was shown to me. And then a couple years later, a UFO was shown to me. And then I've had all these things happen, but I don't know where it's going, right? And I don't study that part of it because it scares me. But like Bob said, it happened. So I just can't tell you why it happened or what reason, but it feels like it was supposed to. And I don't know where that's going with that, right? So
yeah.
You've got a lot of potential for it too. Your veil is really thin with some of the stuff you've had happen. Like like you're a baby.
Yeah. It started early. Yeah. And I'll tell you, Jeremy, it's not every day. If it was, I would probably be going nuts, but it's just enough to remind me every now and then. So
enough to keep the wood wet.
Yeah.
Just Spencer asked Jeremy, have you ever experienced UFO, ghost, paranormal stuff? Anything crazy outside the realm of normalcy? Just trying to find a common denominator. Hang on, Spencer, you're getting ahead of me there. There is a.
I
didn't read.
I started as
that
a
whole
paranormal. I'm sorry,
All right,
Bobby.
I didn't read his whole statement before I put it up there because that was going to be a whole topic. Sorry, carry on about your start as a paranormal.
No, I started as an amateur paranormal investigator with my brother when we lived in Colorado because there was a lot of haunted tunnels and things from the old gold mining days. And there was this tunnel that was allegedly haunted, and supposedly if you turn your car off, you could hear a stagecoach pass through there. And so we drive all these tunnels up to this old this old ghost town, the old gold mining town. And we sit in this tunnel, we turn off the car, roll down the windows, and it wasn't but seconds, and we both thought we heard gravel sound like somebody twisting their foot, grinding gravel into the ground,
Mhm.
And I thought I heard it on my side. He thought he heard it on his side. But it was, as soon as we heard it, he had the car started. I think he started it before the sound ended. But we took off out of there. That was one of our first actual experiences with it. I mean, it was dead silent. It was pitch black, and there was definitely something in there making noise.
That is an undeniable sound.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can just hear it. Especially when
No,
you think you're alone. I'm out.
And and when you hear something in pitch black dark or outside at night or whatever, if you don't know what it is, it'll scare the crap out of you until you do figure it out. Yeah, but it's wild. Like, it takes experience in all this, and the older you get, Bama Murdoch said on the show one time, in your bank of sounds in your mind, right, where you've learned what things sound like. When you have something that kind of sounds like this, but then it kind of sounds like that, and it confuses you, it'll scare the shit out of you.
Oh yeah.
Until you figure it out. Yeah, that's
kind of what I want to experience in like squatching, as they say. As I grew up, really in the rural area, outside all the time. And if I hear something I'm not used to hearing, that's going to really freak me out. If I hear like somebody let me hear something, oh, that's a squatch. I'm like, dog, that ain't a squatch. That's a lake loon. You know better than that. That's a whippoorwill.
But that's why it's good to have different people in the groups, because one person can save you from hurting yourself or misidentifying something.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't want to freak out over like a bobcat, even though it is kind of cool, kind of unnerving to hear, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Like if one of those happened, I'm like, no, man, calm down. It's just a bobcat. You can kick it.
Yep.
Calm down.
Yep.
Yeah. Cripple Creek, Colorado is spooky. I bet. Let's see. When were we talking about Cripple Creek, Colorado? Did I miss something?
Well, I mentioned being in Colorado.
Oh, I was like, I know you said something. I'm like, did I miss a whole conversation? The chat is just lighting up about it.
All right. Bob's used to doing this by himself, so I'm the distractor, and I brought some distractors with me.
I need it because I'm torn between pre-records and every time I decide I'm going to do only pre-records, some shit like this happens and I have fun doing it. I'm right back in it. Because I love the chat, but I got no creative control over it. It is what it is.
Right.
Let's see. I heard a large boar crunching rocks in the brush last night. I let him eat.
Yeah. And we heard yesterday morning before daylight, we were in a new place in a blind and one of my son's friends, and there was a pond directly behind us, and I heard the cow when it went in. When it went in, it was obviously a cow, but this thing started choking on some water. And there was a sound I never heard before, but I knew it was a cow, thank God. Because Peyton looked at me, he said, if we didn't know any better, that would be something that would scare you. And I'm like, yeah, I've never heard that before, so.
I can imagine what a cow choking on water sounds like at dark.
Yeah.
It's got to sound almost like something on one of them adult films.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
I'm just picturing a slurp and a gulp and like at the plop, plop.
This guttural, like, in pain, and me.
I'll tell you what'll get you before daylight is if you don't know what's going to happen. Once it starts, it freaks you out. When a donkey goes, when you first hear that, like, what the fuck? And it goes, oh, it's a donkey.
Yeah, that happened to me.
Wheeze.
Yeah.
Bye bye, Spencer. See you later.
Belton, Missouri is where they live at. It just hit me. It's south of Kansas City. Yeah. So when we come across the southern part, and we get to the southwestern part and then go straight up. There's a highway there. We come through the Mark Twain National Forest, and I'll for any of y'all that hadn't been there, I'll verify it's a good creepy though. I would love to get out there with not by myself, but it just had. I'll go ahead and say it. It just had that feeling that Spencer says. The creepy feels when you get that. Just this feeling every time I've driven through there. It's been at night, but I've got that sensation, like don't stop.
Right.
They call it the heebie-jeebies.
Oh yeah.
So Jeremy, whenever you start looking for a new place to squatch, I don't like the term squatch. I know it's a term. I know what it means. It sounds kind of weird. It sounds like the word mud, and I hate the word mudding. Whenever you're looking for a new place to squatch, is there any like signs you look at, like step 1 signs before you go deeper instead of wasting your afternoon?
Well, I typically look for a large water supply, a good covering of tree canopy, and a large animal or prey population. I usually go out and I look for deer prints or smaller game animal prints around the water sources, just to know, that it could sustain a Bigfoot in that area. But whenever I actually go out, I'm not necessarily looking, or I go out looking, obviously, but I don't get discouraged if I don't find anything. I'll research it a few times before I make a decision on it and move on.
Yeah.
I heard the water source is a big one.
Oh yeah. Well,
not a hard concept to grasp.
Well, but you look at it. Okay, so you say a water source is a big one. Now, is that because they're 100% flesh and blood and they need to drink like the rest of us, or is it some kind of energy that goes along with the waterways? I
know they have to have it. I mean, the guy in Minnesota had the GPS read out of all his teepees that weren't like storm damage, like straight up built up teepees in his place. All of them followed that water in like the same line. So I don't know. I'm sure they have to have it if they're here. I mean, here we are going off on that. Are they real or not? But you would think if they were in a meat suit, they'd have to have some kind of hydration.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
I mean, if they eat, which we assume, some of us believe they do eat deer and other berries and vegetation. But I think if they do have to eat, then they should most likely have to drink as well.
I just wonder if it's like like they're in a video game. Here's just the abstract. If they're here just from another place, but they're in this meat suit while they're here, they have to adhere to the rules of the game they're in, of the world they're in. So that's why I think they eat and drink.
Yeah, I mean that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Well, think about this. This blows my mind. Let's go with 800 pounds, all muscle. How many calories and how much protein would you have to take in per day to maintain?
It's like Michael Phelps numbers.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It's crazy. But they do know there's other things you can eat, besides just meat to get a lot of that. And I've had a theory. I don't know if it's right. Me and Bob bounce stupid stuff off each other all the time.
And neither of us smoke weed either. You ought to see this conversation.
No, yeah.
You would think we're high as shit.
Yeah. And so we think the 411 missing map and the Bigfoot sighting map and the no
caves
cell phone coverage map are all the same.
And the caves too. It's all the same.
And the caves are all the same. You lay them over top of each other and it's pretty much all the same. So our thing is, well, Bigfoot don't like 5G for some reason. Now, is that because it interferes with their energy that we hear about, or is it, or what is it? And maybe it's because in those areas with no phone service, there's going to be less people, right? It could be that simple, and that's probably the answer. But we're bouncing these ideas off each other all the time, and it's like one of mine. I heard a tree fall one day, and it didn't sound like. Well, I got one on video. It was out already halfway down, but my son and I were in the same area, and I'm 52 years old. I've never heard a tree fall in the woods. I've been out in the woods at night, daytime, windstorms. So we hear this thing. There's no breeze. It falls down, and we go to try to find it, and we couldn't because there were several in this area, right? So we don't know which one's the fresh one. But then I got to thinking, what if they just bear with me? I'm gonna be reaching here. What if they go around and they hit these trees with their hands, and it sounds like a wood knock, but they're testing these trees to see if they're hollow, where it may have a family of raccoons or possums or some food source, right? And anything, larva. And then, okay, so I'll remember this one here when I come through here next time. I'm going to knock this thing down and I'm going to pick all the bugs out of it, or I'm going to, and who knows? I mean, but when you hear this stuff, and everybody, on the TV shows, they made it popular to go out and hit a tree with a stick. Well, I've tried it, and it doesn't always make the same sound, the different wood and all that, right? So what if it is something other than a stick, wood on wood? And then what would be the reason? We do know communication is a good reason, but also they may be searching for these calories and protein that we know they would need if they're that big. I mean, that's just spitballing, but it's funny when you do stuff like this, you get to thinking like, why would they do that? And so who knows?
No, that's a very plausible theory, though.
Tons of reasons.
Yeah.
And even if they reside somewhere else, when they go to sleep, maybe they log out. I'm using all these technical terms, video game terms, but like they log out of this reality and go back to the fourth dimension. Maybe when they come here, they're like the guy from the Matrix that goes back knowing he's in the Matrix, but still eats the steak because it's good. Maybe that's what they do here. They come back and they eat a couple chickens. And like, this place is good. Have you tried the chickens? They're amazing. They taste just like chicken.
Yeah. And then going along with that the tree breaks, it might be a marker for, hey, this is a good, I found 4 trees over here. If I'm back through here, I'll use this path and I'll know exactly where I'm at, Right. I don't know. That's reaching it, but that's the fun part of this. We don't know. So there are no wrong answers at this point,
Right.
So
that's why when people get so mad about something, like, dude, what are you mad about?
Well, Jeremy said in Missouri they like that ain't true. Well, how do you know?
People are just so dead set. I've never seen them do anything paranormal. I'm like, well, you've only seen one by your fire, man. That's any
right.
For that matter, nobody's seen an alien do anything alienish. They've just been in their bedroom. Yeah, I mean, just
cooking breakfast for you. That's not weird.
Other than a spaceship, other than waking up with an anal probe, there's nothing. Aliens don't do anything different than humans do.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, come and watch you sleep. I don't know why. That's kind of weird, but who am I? I'm just a monkey with a hairless monkey out here in the Milky Way.
But Jeremy, I haven't seen a lot of the woo part. I've had things happen at times where it may be paranormalish. You got experience in that. It could be the energy or the thin veil, whatever they call it, in that area that causes all of this to be able to happen in this particular spot, whether it's a vortex or magnet, whatever it is, right? So so you may just be in this hot spot for all of this activity. But I've had people laugh at that possibility, but then 2 sentences later tell me how they saw their grandma cooking breakfast Sunday, but she's been dead for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm like, wait a minute. Whoa, that's okay. And then,
right.
So anyway, it's funny how people, I think they're scared of this stuff, Jeremy. And I think,
that's a lot of it. It's a lot of fear. Cause if they think that they have to turn loose of a lot of other stuff that they're trying to run away from as well.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Well,
They
Bob,
just-
this is Jeremy's show. You need to ask him some questions.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have a really deep talk. We have a really deep topic we're preparing for. That's why I wasn't worried about it. And I was going to wait till right about 40-minute mark. I was going to, because Jeremy, you shared with me some pretty intimate details about how you became cognizant of the other side, about what happened to you. You want to tell that story? Is that something you're comfortable with?
About my TBI and my autism.
Yeah, TBI and how that happened, and then how it happened. You started seeing them, because that's because not Roger. What's his name? Spencer said a while ago. Have you anything happened? Have you died? I'm like, ho, hang on. Yeah, it's because Long Island Bigfoot has a similar story as you with the TBI, and all of a sudden there's Bigfoot everywhere.
Right.
I just want to hear some of that.
Okay. Well, yeah, I just gotten to the 82nd Airborne from the 1st Ranger Battalion, and I was conducting a jump with the 82nd. It was my first jump with them. And when you jump with the Rangers, everything's professional. You know, you hook your static line up, you stand up, you get ready. As soon as the door opens, they tell you to go, you go. The 82nd is a little different. They were it was just like a bunch of chimpanzees. You know, they hooked up and started jerking on the anchor cable and was just hyped up and screaming. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be a new experience. And we went ahead and exited the aircraft. And I noticed I was falling faster than everybody else. And I could hear my squad leader yell, "Pull your reserve, Goose, you're going to die." And my training kicked in. And so I grabbed my risers and I started pulling them and bicycling my feet, which will pull you out of a spin.
Mhm.
And it did. It pulled me out of I had what they call a cigar roll in my chute. And it opened up, but it opened right as I hit the ground. So it wasn't a whole lot. It did stop me some, but it wasn't a whole lot. And I hit and I fractured my back and I hit my head really hard and I became unconscious. And from that point on, they told me I had a TBI from that. A lot of my cognitive function is slowed greatly from it. But like you were getting at, you know, I didn't think anything about Bigfoot prior to that. You know, I just never thought it wasn't part of my daily routine. But since then, you know, I never actually thought about that until you brought it up. But you
Dude,
know,
when you said that, my lights went. I wanted to start to show them when you said that. And that's out of all due respect. I'm not making light of your injury or anything.
No.
But like, holy shit, this is like the real deal.
Yeah.
How quick
That's
did it
really
start happening
interesting,
after you got back from that? Did you start seeing Bigfoot after you got back?
Well, that was in '99, and I didn't see my first Bigfoot until 2016. But honestly, it wasn't until about the 2016 mark that I started getting treated for it because, you know, I noticed my memory was just worthless, and it wasn't you forget things. You're getting older. You're almost 50, but it's things that I should have known that I just lost cognitive function for. And started seeing a neurologist. But yeah, about the time I started getting treated was about the time I started seeing it.
That's crazy.
I don't
So
know
it's
if
like
that
you started making what's the word, synapses. They started firing randomly.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there they are. It's like your veil started going, or your veil turned on in the other direction and got thin.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you go to the pineal gland and the third eye and all that. You know, this is a stretch again, but that jolt, you know, could have opened up a pathway or shook something loose, and to clear your mind.
Yeah.
You know, I've been intrigued. You know, I don't know as much as I should, but as soon as I heard that argument about, you know, we're talking about conspiracies and stuff about fluoride in the water and all that, because the powers that be don't want you free thinking and being connected to whatever. I get you read that stuff, and so we hear you know, kids and you know, let's say a kid had some kind of accident and now he can play the piano better than Beethoven, you know, or whatever. I don't know what all that is. I've had a near-death experience also. I had a 68 Plymouth caught on fire, and I was on fire with it. Had some pretty intense couple minutes there, but I had seen the Bigfoot before that, but I saw the UFO and everything else after that, except for that when I was about 2 years old, I had the reoccurring nightmares.
Ooh,
but
that's weird. That's a crazy story there, Jeremy.
Yeah, and
that's a whole nother podcast.
I drive by that house and I want to pull in there so bad and ask those people. It's 50 years ago, and I want to ask them, about that house, but I don't want to pull in the yard. I don't want to bring anything home with me.
Yeah.
But so I think there's a lot, like Bob said, he recognized that when you said that, there could be a lot to that. And that's something I always wanted. I asked that question in a huge Facebook group, about 30,000 members, and you're supposed to keep it Bigfoot related and all that. Well, I just asked a simple question of how many of you guys grew up on city water and how many grew up on country well water, spring water, whatever. And why I was asking, a lot of people understood, because it seemed like the more open-minded people were not city water, and some of the people that were over the top, way over the top with some of their stuff, were city water with fluoride, and that can cause problems, right? So I was just doing a quick survey. Man, I almost got kicked off of that site and it was the people that had city water. I didn't say anything. I didn't say why I was asking, but I had known all these people. I seen how they posted and how they believed and everything. And man, it was a great thing. And they shut me down. So I got to see enough of it. Spencer was there. He saw it. And so I don't want to say mental illness, because when your pineal gland gets crusted up or whatever the term is, it can cause some of that. So it was very interesting, the answers I got. I mean, some of them got vicious. They were the city water. I didn't ask them about their experiences. I just asked them, sure. And you need to get out here and get out here with that. This is about Bigfoot and cryptids and whatever.
It's all part of the same mystery. That's why I have everybody. I have UFO guys and paleontologists, because it's all linked together. And you just freaked me out with the well water thing, because I had only well water till I was 30 years old.
Yeah,
maybe that's why I'm so open-minded about it. I'm not like an experiencer, but the angel numbers and the belief, man, I'm all in. I always knew something was there.
Well, okay, think about this then, Bob. You always knew something was there. Now, your brain developed without the city water, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I went to college. Well, I went to college when I was 20 something. I had city water then. That I moved back home, but my brain was already done forming by the time I did it. 20 years.
Right. And so, you could. I don't know how long it would take to calcify. Misty came up with the word, but and I know this is way out there, but when you see certain things and you experience certain things, and then you can take I don't have a PhD, of course. I didn't finish college. I did a couple years of college. The questions that I can ask because of things that I saw to some of these experts, they're like, where did you come up with that? Well, I saw a Bigfoot walk up a hill, and the way it was walking, and if he has a flexible foot, it would make that possible, right? And they're like, yes. So, I think you can get a lot from eyewitnesses if they don't panic and they're critical thinkers. I know people in my family, Jeremy, you probably handpick people to go with you because you don't want somebody that's going to panic. I joked around and say, I don't panic, but I do get scared. I try to think my way out, but I worry sometimes that I'm going to get myself in a situation that I can't do that. So, but there's all these questions that pop up. Us rednecks are out here asking these questions, and
we're the ones that's going to find the damn thing.
Yeah. I don't know.
Welcome to the show, Randall.
Hey, Randall.
That's really interesting. I never thought about that, Bobby, until you said it.
I'm shocked
Yeah.
that you haven't you didn't know about it. I thought that kind of that's why you were telling me almost. And I'm like, wow.
No, I was telling you because I have a hard time keeping a conversation going.
Oh,
And I
you're doing a
was
pretty good
thinking,
job.
well, thank you.
Yeah, you're doing a pretty good job. Yeah, I mean, I'll take it. That particular thing, that was whenever I hear somebody with like incredible stories, and just like you were saying, like how you saw one and you experienced the knocks and the is it class C's, like that stuff's just as good.
Yeah.
5 class C's is as good as a class A. You put
Right.
them together. That's like derivative classification. Like if you don't know where the weapons are, but you know where the person went, how long he's been gone, and which way he came from, and you've got the data from a smartwatch, that's knowing where the shit is. It's the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's but yeah, I wanted to have a class C just as much as a class A if I can get more than one. Especially hearing some sounds like if I hear a howl in the woods and it makes my chest hurt, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right. And
It's
class
crazy.
C's are,
go ahead.
No,
and you don't know.
These are fun.
Yeah, none of us know how we're going to react, and we may react different each time.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the situation and how close to safety you are.
Right.
But the thing is, the main thing is keep going out there. And I like that you said that you go and you look for things. You'll give it 2 or 3 chances because it just because you go fishing in a spot that has tons of fish in it, it doesn't mean they're biting that day, right? And then if you want to catch a bass, don't go to your bathtub. So you have to you have to do that a little bit of thinking to get your make your chances more possible. But also, if I come to you and I say, Jeremy, I don't don't say my name or anything, but I've got some Bigfoots coming up and they're slapping my house and they're stealing my chickens. Will you come out? That's a hot spot. So if you get out there and it's all gathering information, and that's a good question, y'all. I'm gonna back off because Pamela there, she's a new subscriber, and she's subscribing to everybody, and that's a good question there too. Or
Pamela, he said, Jeremy experienced change in energy. I was going to ask you, Jeremy, if not too personal, what kind of treatments were you doing? Were there physical, kind of like surgery treatments, or just like psychological treatments that may have jostled something?
It was psychological as of now. I just started seeing a neurologist last year, so it may progress, but right now it's all psychological.
That's got to be akin to exercising a muscle, especially especially if you're in some kind of somewhat scar tissue condition for 10 years, and all of a sudden you start working on it, all of a sudden, like start spinning up like an old truck.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because I don't know how you were for that 15 years in between, but I can imagine once you started working on it, it had to fire some stuff up that hadn't been used before. Was it like particular like memory exercises or something? I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah, and reading. They encourage reading a lot to retain. But see, that's my problem. I have a hard time retaining. I'll sit and read and research, and then I may retain a third of what I just read.
I do that. I mean, I can learn I have to sit down and focus, and I'm naturally like that, and I don't know if because now this is reaching again, because we're like that, maybe we don't have the distraction of what we saw on the news that we're, worried sick about, or there's things I worry about, but I don't stress. So I don't focus. So maybe because we are wired like that's the word I'm gonna use. We're wired like that. Maybe I was wired like that. You became wired like that because had to form a different path or whatever. Right. Maybe that's why we do. We see these things, right? We see and hear this stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we all need to talk.
Oh, I agree. And I started my paranormal research right after my TBI.
Okay. Did you have something happen in that near-death experience that caused you something you saw or heard or felt to start the paranormal research?
No. Well, my grandma, she used to work at what they call a longhouse, and it was a Native American tribal meeting place. and she made lunches for the Native Americans. And she told me she had a full apparition out there. And man, I tried so hard as a kid to see that thing, and I just couldn't. And it was right after they moved a body from the Illinois Miami Indian burial ground out to Miami, Oklahoma. And they moved that one Native American and moved his grave out there. And that's when she saw it. And I tried so hard and I couldn't see it. But I changed duty stations. I left Fort Bragg and went to Fort Carson, Colorado. And it's when I got to Fort Carson, Colorado that I started getting interested in the paranormal. I was just never into that stuff, whenever I joined the Army.
Mhm.
But it was towards the end of my career. Yeah, I got into a lot of stuff. UFOs I'm still into UFOs.
You ever
Yeah.
do any C5E stuff?
I try to
C5?
do it with a group, with my Bigfoot group, because it is the one school of thought is that Bigfoot can communicate through ESP. And one of the CE5 protocols is meditating to communicate with the UFO, the UAPs, whatever. And so we have implemented that into our group. We just kind of meditate on our own. I don't get us all in a little circle, but we all put out our intention prior to going out.
I told Roger the other night that I 100% made something appear with a CE5.
Really?
He was freaking out.
Dude, it was crazy. I was like, wow, it worked. And it only took like 10 seconds.
Wow.
And then we had the meteor shower last week or this weekend. And I got to see what meteors look like. And compared to what the meteors are, even the big ones, what I saw was like 4 or 5 times brighter and way faster. And it was out of the corner of my eye, just like that. And it was like a bright flash, like something fired up its warp drive. In the end of Star Trek, whenever it shows the Enterprise speeding by and different, it looked like that. Because I was outside and I was talking to him, like, show me a sign. Hey guys, show me just talking to him real intently and politely, like you're supposed to. And sure enough, 10 seconds, I came inside. Well, saw a UFO. That's cool. That just made me a sandwich.
But now, wait a minute. You didn't just make you a sandwich. I woke up, or I think I was ready for bed or something, and there was like 8 paragraphs explaining what just happened. It was like rapid fire,
Well, I can type and eat at the same time.
But,
I've been typing with one hand since I was a teenager. I mean, it's not that hard to do. I thought it was pretty neat because the guy we were talking to, Les, over on Beyond the Woodline, is the guy that taught me to do that. And so it just so happened that you were on the call with him, and I was like, "Wow, that's kind of weird. Did that just happen?" And Les is on the podcast.
Oh, you talking about when he was on mine, or I was on his?
When he was on Joe DeHoya's Beyond the Woodline podcast.
Right. Okay.
You were in the chat.
Jeremy, I can't. Well, when you start thanking people and like, oh, listen to this podcast, and I've been on this and a great person. I was doing that on TikTok. I didn't think anybody was watching it. And I know a lot of people don't like TikTok, but I was naming everybody, and then all of a sudden, Joe popped up. Hey, you were on my it was just 2 weeks before. You were on my podcast, and I'm like, oh, I knew this was going to happen.
Dude, you forget what podcast you've been on.
Oh,
well, have you tried that ESP worked with Bigfoot? Any kind of responses?
Well, the first time we tried it was at our meet and greet expedition in October, and that was very successful. I mean, we went away with prints, tree breaks, and tree structures on that one, and eDNA. We took some eDNA samples from a possible bedding area, and so that was our most lucrative. But there was no sightings or encounters with it.
What's up, Joe? I need to air Joe's episode. I've been saving it for the perfect time, and I keep having these good guests. Yeah, Joe's a Bigfoot documentarian from Paraflix, I believe.
Oh wow!
He's got the no. He's got the Big Muddy Monster from Illinois, Murfreesboro, Illinois. He did a whole documentary on it.
I have to check it out. I haven't heard of it.
It's on one of his affiliates has it on YouTube. The Creature from Big Muddy. It's a good little documentary.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's a what is eDNA? Why can't I?
It's environmental DNA. It's
Environmental.
just
Okay.
yeah.
I was thinking like an e-cig. I was like, what? I was like, is this electronic DNA? What?
That's what you would contaminate the eDNA sample with.
Yeah.
Right.
Y'all, this has been fun. I have got to go because I've got an early start in the morning. Nice to meet you, sir.
You too.
Bob, anytime, I get a chance. This is always fun. I'm sorry. Jeremy, I'm full of questions because I don't know anything, right? So I'm glad you shared, what you
Empty
shared
vessel.
with us. Yeah, I'm just, and I'll probably forget it tomorrow by the time I wake up. So
I had more fun listening to Roger do the interview than me. I'm over here, well, what else?
I'm sorry. And I started my own show because I had so many questions. The guy, I was co-hosting and I loved it and got my feet wet. And then I'm like, man, I'd have like 50 questions I'd be writing down. I get to ask two, and I hope I didn't bore y'all. So thank y'all. Thank everybody. I will talk to you later, Bob. Okay.
All right. Yeah. And Roger's channel is Squatch and Holler. I just put it in the chat there.
Thank you.
Right.
I appreciate it. All right.
All right.
See y'all later.
Roger.
See ya.
Bye. Nice to meet you, Jeremy.
You too.
Hey, and for those of y'all who are wanting to start a podcast and want to know how it's done, Roger's show has put on a clinic on what the riches and the niches, because that dude has a niche and he is just bearing in like an Alabama tick. I've never seen nothing like it. He is a case study. There's going to be doctoral courses taught about Roger's podcast because like, man, he went from zero to hero just 3 months. It's insane.
Oh wow.
It's proof that it's all in the niches, because he had one. It's incredible. I've been studying it. I'm like, man, this guy's he stumbled up on something.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Well, you have any other cool stories you want to tell? We can go ahead and wrap it up because this has just been a heck of an experience.
I honestly don't have any
paranormal or alien stuff.
Well, I guess we could finish off. I was out on my porch in Holiday Island, Arkansas, which is right outside of Eureka Springs, if you're familiar with that area. And I would always get wood knocks and howls, more like an Ohio howl than a whoop. But I would get howls at night. And so I was sitting out listening for them. And around this part, I don't know if it's where you're at, but we have this big light that's kind of showing up right now around where Jupiter is. Because whenever I hold up that star app on my phone that shows constellations, and it points to Jupiter, but it's not Jupiter because I've seen this thing move and take a 90-degree angle. But I was sitting out one night listening for it with my roommate, and I saw this thing getting closer and closer. It wasn't going out, but it looked like it was getting brighter, like it was getting closer. And then I could see at an angle that it was moving, and then it made a sharp right 90-degree angle. And there's no aircraft that can make a 90-degree. I mean, this thing was a sharp corner and a turn, and then it just faded out. And this last weekend, 2 weekends ago, sorry, we did our December expedition. And while we were sitting around the campfire just telling stories, we all looked up and we could see the same light again. And it was fading in and out, like it would dim and then come back and be bright as can be and then go dim. And there was no certain repetition, like, a light in the sky or an aircraft. There was no calculated repetition. It just happened whenever it would happen. And it was really interesting. And so the one that made the 90-degree turn is still essentially the same one we saw this last weekend. And that I consider one of my UFO encounters. I just don't see a US or any aircraft making a 90-degree turn like that.
Does that light start like directly overhead in the evening sky? I think I know what you're talking about. It's like directly overhead to the southeast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I've seen that because I've noticed, like, I look up and I'll catch something trying to move, and I'm like,
yeah.
I've been spending a lot of time outside by the campfire in the last 3 or 4 weeks because I can just concentrate and see like a flash out of the corner of my eye, and it's It's kind of weird. I think I'm exposed. I'm going to get possessed by a demon if I'm not careful. So why would they do? Yeah, pyromedic. If you just, I don't know if any guys on the chat now like habituate with Bigfoot, but if you do it similar to that, where you're just like, hey guys, this is me. Say your name and state your name. Talk politely to them, like, hey, give me a sign. If you see anything, just say thank you and just leave.
Yeah, that's good advice.
I mean, Squatch talk, it happens fast. It's the same as like a Bigfoot or anything. So when you go out there, and it could be anywhere. You know how big the night sky is, Squatch talk. It's the night sky. It's not going to happen in the range of an iPhone 12X, and it's not going to do it any good. And there's been a ton of people that set the time lapses up and catch that kind of thing. And Les Durant with orbs and something. He's been on my show too. Les Durant, he's a king of it over there in Blue Ridge, Georgia. But he gets like floating like giant golf balls every night. He'll just say thank you and they'll disappear. I don't know how. I think some of his stuff may be satellites, just from his wishful thinking. But I was like, what was that? Was that a bug on your camera?
Hell, it might. Oh yeah, I've got a fly on my.
I scared the hell out of me. I was like, what is that? But yeah, I mean, it can happen. It's not going to happen doing this. It's going to happen over there, out of the corner of your eye, between two trees. The other night I was doing in a 747, came in between the pine trees, landing low at Huntsville Airport, scared me to death. I didn't know what it was. It just appeared over the ridge. Yeah, Wendell, that's one of the stars in Orion is a nebula. It moves around. All right. It's been a really fun podcast. I'll go ahead and let you go while strike while the iron is hot. Everybody on here, be sure to share this and subscribe if you haven't. It's I got Jeremy is a really cool guest, and I've got many Jeremy caliber guests coming up. And because I try to find these guys that do this research, and because I want to hear it, because I'm too scared and poor to go out myself. Not poor, but time poor. It's just to go. It's always 3 hours away where these Bigfoot hotspots are. You can't. Right. That's why I always ask people like you, how do you find it? Because maybe I can find my own, like a small band.
I use Google Earth, man, and just look for the spots that look squatchy.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm planning on doing a few little 10-minute mini docs on state parks and stuff that are near BFRO reports. There's a bunch of those around here, and kind of doing what you're saying, look for squatchy like places and look for the sign. And I'm planning a trip to LBL, Land Between the Lakes, and meet Mr. Rebel Suitor from Hopkinsville up there.
Oh, cool. Give
me kind of a tour. Because Roger went up there and found a print. I'm like, I'd go up there and do a little mini doc and maybe hear something. Might be worth it. Might be worth my time. It's not that far away.
Yeah.
But if you guys want to find Mr. Rogers, he is ozarksbro.com. That's Ozarks. It is Ozarksbro, OZARKSBROE.com.
Yeah.
I'm going to write that down. I just screwed it up. But it is in the description. It is in the description. For all of those LBLO. For all of those wanting to know, everything's in the description. So, as you listen, please subscribe and please share it with your friends. This will be funny. This is going to be a good episode. I'm going to clip it out and put a lot of these best ofs on there because it has some good experiences. And as Jesse said, thanks for sharing your experience. It's been fun. I'm glad you could finally get some clarity on, what may have triggered some of it, because that does sound very. That was crazy. That was like some kind of twist of fate. You're like, oh, just by the way, I want to warn you. I'm like, what? Get on here now. We're doing it live. We're doing it live.
That's awesome.
But thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks, Jeremy. We're going to head out of here, and everybody have a good week and Merry Christmas. I don't know if I'll do a show next week, so if not, hope Santa Claus brings you something nice. Peace out.
I never didn't believe in Bigfoot. I never believed in it, didn't believe in it. I never gave it any thought.
They kept wood knocking back and forth to each other, and it was in a pattern.
Barn owls don't typically throw rocks.
come across these tracks.
Sasquatch is still not on my mind.